Networking, and I'm Sadie. And today my guest is Lola LeSoleil. Lola, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lola LeSoleil. I am a burlesque performer, and in my pedestrian life, I work in film and TV in costumes, da, 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 which means I have so much free time right now. Yay!
Yeah,
So much free time.
that's the whole
Yeah.
reason this project got started. Everyone has free
Honey.
time.
Mm, mm. Yes, Lord. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
we are here to mark an occasion, though, because we have a burlesquiversary to celebrate, yes? A decade
We do.
in
We do.
burlesque.
Right? Right? Madness. How did that happen?
I know! So, how did you get
How did that
started
happen?
in burlesque?
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. The shorter version is so I've always liked that kind of like in the margin entertainment. I like circus. I like the idea of striptease and go-go and bump and grind and that kind of thing. Um, and my mom and I, so 2000 something, my mom and I went to Las Vegas and saw Jubilee at Bally's Hotel. So like Jubilee was like the last of the big, opulent, gorgeous, topless, I think at the time, floor shows. So, I mean, illuminated staircases, 10-foot headdresses, poise, dancers and more rhinestones and feathers than you can shake 12 sticks at.
Yep.
And I absolutely fell in love. And I was like, I want this. So didn't happen, but I was like, oh, this is amazing. How do I get it on here? How do I get it on here? So a couple of years later, I went to a blast off burlesque show. And I was with a friend of mine, Heidi, and Heidi might be out there somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was watching the performers on stage, and I was like, I'm hitting her, and I'm like hitting her on the shoulder. I'm like, this, I want to do this. And she's like, ow, stop. I know one of the performers, and I can introduce you after. She's like, and I'm like, yes, please do. That performer was Talloolah Love,
Yes.
because Heidi and Talloolah went to high school together. And afterwards, and I just gushed, and I'm like, and I know it's amazing. I want to do this. And I want to put things on me too. And she's like, well, I teach classes, ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of burlesque. And I was like, please take my money. And that's how that started. So that was 2000. Okay, so that show, I think it was the stimulus package show.
Yep.
For Blast Off. So like that, several months later, I enrolled in Sirens of the South, ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, and began my journey to do this.
Yeah. It worked out for you.
Great. I think.
Yeah.
But also like in that class that I was in, there was a Kiko, Brooks Creed, and Fondle Ling. So those are also my classmates. So happy 10 year also to Fritz and Kiko.
Yay!
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really fantastic group of people. Yeah.
Right? Right?
And Fritz is producing now in town too. And
go ahead.
Yeah. So what? What's this?
I'm making fire happen. It's my birthday candle in my cocktail because today is my actual birthday.
Happy birthday!
Yeah. Yay, blow it out.
Woo!
And then take a sip. Yeah, that's how you swizzle.
Cheers.
You swizzle, clink. You swizzle with your birthday candle. That's what you do. Waxy deliciousness.
Co-sign to that. Yes.
All right.
Before you started down the path of burlesque, though, you were already dancing. Because you have been salsa dancing for ages, right?
So that was a couple of years ago. That was 10 years also. So
okay.
Salsa, I think I started in 2007. I started taking salsa lessons because a friend of mine was like, hey, I want to take salsa lessons, but when I go to the club, I want to have somebody to dance with. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I go and I start taking classes, and it's absolutely wonderful. I also wanted to challenge myself with learning how to dance with a partner because, hey, what's up, Gen X? We mosh and we slam. We didn't really, partner dancing was not part of our. Yeah. Oh no, stay over there. Stay over there. I'm just gonna, do.
Yeah. I was the goth kid that needed myself. Like the 3-foot perimeter, like as I was doing my interpretive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I wanted to challenge myself with partner dancing, and I fell in love with salsa, just incorporating the different rhythms and the relation between the Afro-Cuban rhythms and how like salsa really is just kind of a generic term for that type of dance, but it has so many other legs to it that, there's son and there's cumbia and there's all these other rhythms that come together to form the style. So this was beta, which is Cuban. So it's kind of like it's danced in a circle, danced in a wheel. So rueda is Spanish for wheel. So it's kind of like partner square dancing. So it's like you've got a caller that has like hand gestures that call moves, and you change partners based on the moves. And then I got involved with this amazing group called the Salsa Bells. Come on, Bells.
Yeah.
And it was an all ladies performing ensemble that came out of the salsa school, and we were together for 10 years. And those are some of the best memories I have. And it just happened that when I started teaching burlesque, some of those rhythms and those steps and those moves that I learned, they just worked their way into my burlesque.
Yeah.
Because that's what my body was accustomed to. And I mean, I just feel it. It just happened. And now I've got a neighbor who's decided he wants to blow off his driveway. So I'm going to shut this door. I believe this same driveway has been blown off. What day is today? Thursday? Every day this week.
Yeah.
Stand by.
Our neighbor mowed our lawn yesterday because he had nothing else to do. So
I think that's what's happening. This poor chap has nothing to do, and he's just like, I'm just going to blow off the driveway again.
Yeah.
Bless. So.
And to think like we all aspire to retirement when it's like, this is retirement, guys. Like,
well, no, under normal circumstances, I'd be able to have like a plane ticket, hopefully, and go somewhere.
Yeah.
So, because this stuff, it's fine. Everything will be fine.
You are known as the Lady of Legitude. Yes. And you're also known for your stillness and for your badass costuming. Or at least over here, that's what we know you for. So.
Thank you.
So, how did you come upon your tagline?
The Lady of Legitude. I'm trying to remember what my tagline was before that, and I can't remember it now. I probably should have studied some of my old intros. It made sense. It's one of the things where I remember, the wisdom of one performer or another was like, lean into who you are and what you are. And I'm like, well, I'm 5'9". Oh, I remember one of our MCs, John Carney.
Yeah.
He used to intro me, and he would say, she's got the legs that go all the way up and make an ass of themselves. And though that is amusing, I was like, let's take that and make it a little more positive and complimentary.
Yeah.
And have a tagline that maybe my mother wouldn't mind hearing.
Sure, yeah.
No, it's the same thing, but yeah, that's it. So, taking the whole idea of having long legs and having attitude in whichever way I manifest it, there it is. That's it.
Right on. So let's talk about stillness, because knowing you socially, you have so much energy, and also on stage you have so much energy, and you're very enthusiastic, and you just exude this like constant, like your wheels are turning all the time, but you're really good at being on stage and taking that moment and like hitting the pose and usually making some fantastic face that's evocative of exactly what you're trying to communicate. But when I was speaking with Freya earlier, we spent some time talking about your use of stillness and how it's such a challenge for people.
Challenged.
Yeah?
Challenged right here. Challenged right here. Because, like you just said, full of energy, constantly moving. That has been my signature all life in Aries. Aries is a fire sign. That tends to be constant movement, doing something. I mean, quick story, my mom jokes or has this fond memory of me like learning how to dance. I was like maybe a year. I just started walking, and I would hold on to the dresser and I would like dance up and down, and she'd call it shaking my groovy diaper. So even that, then I just constant energy. So with burlesque and watching other performers, and then after performing a couple of times myself, I realized that I was tired after an act. I expend a lot of energy, and I realized what I needed to do was to challenge myself to be more intentional and more mindful and really focus on breathing, and taking time to see what happens when you don't hit every single beat. Because I'm also not especially great with intentional specific choreography. I've had to learn that skill when teaching.
Yep.
But for me, I just learn I just feel the music. I feel it. I feel it in here. I feel it in my feet. I feel it in my groovy diaper. And I just always move. So it's like taking the time, and I understand counting because I'm also a musician. I've violin and violas for years and years and years. So I have to think in terms of, if this is an 8 count or 16 count phrase, rather than hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. To taking those half moments and where to drop an expression, where to raise an eyebrow, that becomes choreographed as well. My facial expressions aren't nearly as exciting as Tiger Tangerine, but I do the best I can. And sometimes it doesn't have to be this. It's a shoulder, it's a knee, it's just a weight shift. Yeah. And I just have to breathe and think about it, because otherwise I'm exhausted on stage, and I'm getting older, and it's tiring.
Yes. So when you're developing an act, where do you start?
Oh, good Lord.
Do you start with a song? Do you start with a costume idea? Are you putting something together to usually for like some bespoke theme, or?
The answer is yes.
Yes, all of it.
All of those.
Yeah.
All of those. I have started with a trim first, like a garment trim. I've started with a costume accessory before. I've started with an idea. I've started with a memory of something, and then realizing, wait, this has happened more than one time in my life. I'd like to reconcile that and make it enjoyable. It starts all over the place. And then sometimes, if the other components, so if I start with the costume, and then it's like, it's a search for music, or if I start with a character, then it's develop the costume, figure out the music. Like my Dalek act, the costume happened, and the music is there, but it's never quite made me happy. So that is still a search. And that act was I made that in 2012.
Yeah.
So it's still not where I want it. It's also kind of broken right now.
I mean, we're all kind of broken right now, so there's that.
It's broken.
You do a lot of nerdy and nerdy adjacent things. You're a regular at Dragon Con when we can't con you into going to Burning Man. And so your pop culture interests have definitely found some synthesis with your performance interests. Have you found that landscape has changed since you've gotten into burlesque? Like, are there more opportunities to do that kind of nerdy stuff?
Absolutely more opportunities. It comes down often to, do I have the spoon to participate? But I see it happening. I see it within Atlanta. I see Kansas. I see New Orleans. I see, there are larger events that I can attend, or even just within Atlanta, there are so many shows that happen. And then, sometimes I look at whatever the theme is. I look at the deadline to apply. I look at what the theme is. And then I run through my head and I'm like, do I A, have something, B, have the time, C, want to create something? And if all three of those don't line up, then it's like, I mean, if you want Princess Leia, I might be able to dust her off if I can find all the parts again. So it really just depends. Like in 2014, I did the New York Burlesque Festival, and I think it was like in its second year maybe.
Yeah.
And I was really excited about that because I hadn't been to New York to enjoy it, and I'd only been one other time, and that was on a day trip with work.
Right.
So this was an opportunity to go and enjoy it and be in the East Village and like, are you kidding me? So yeah, and like after, funny, it's like I kind of like after that, I'm like, okay, I've done that. What now? And like for a year after that, there wasn't a whole lot else happening, but I was like, you know what? If people want these acts, then great. And usually what happened is I would develop the nerdy ones specifically for Dragon Con.
Mm-hmm.
And then they became appreciated by other people who saw them and they're like, oh no, yeah, please bring that here. And I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah, that's kind of, okay, that's kind of what happened. I'm thinking about this most current one that I've got a duet with Sunny Midnight. It's Captain Hook and the Crocodile from Peter Pan. And it really is like my new favorite.
Awesome.
And it was her idea. And it's one of my new favorites. And hopefully we'll get to perform it again here.
I'm so psyched that Sunny is back. Like, dude.
Right? Girl, talking to you.
Right?
Yeah.
I know that working in front of the Dragon Con audience is not like a typical audience. And how would you summarize the experience of doing the Dragon Con Burlesque show?
That's the largest crowd I ever perform in front of. Ever. Because that's 1,000+ people. So 1,000 eyeballs on the edge of their seat, midnight on Saturday nights, the biggest night at Dragon Con. And you know that all of them are on your side. So they're all on my side because they want everyone that hits that stage to succeed. But I remember the first time I was so anxious. I was anxious for months before because I also knew that I didn't want to get on that stage and half-step anything.
Right.
I didn't want it to not be the quality that I had scene that I knew I could do and that I knew that I would want to see on that stage. Because I've been going to that show for years prior. And every year I'm just like, I want to be on that stage. Boom. But it was like, there are all these fans in the audience. I got to give them what they don't realize they want, but they are going to lose their minds over. And to create something that's like that is just, it's just nerves. It's just, and creating the costume and getting help with the costume. Thank you, Catherine Lash, for the Dalek and Princess Leia, because, and oh God, still, even now, so much to create the costume. So many late nights. And so, yeah, it was like putting it together a burlesque costume and a cosplay simultaneously. And, you know, idea of the gatekeeping fanboys and fangirls and appeasing them might have been a part of it, because to understand what that is, it's like, I want it to be accurate. I want it, or if it's not, I want to know exactly what I'm looking at, even if I have minimal indications of what it is. So yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
You make badass costumes.
Thanks.
So
thanks. I have a lot of help sometimes.
So what is the costume creation process for you?
I think about like the costumes that I've gotten the most mileage out of. I had the concept, and then because I didn't have the sewing skills at the time, I enlisted others who could help me. So like the Dalek, the Princess Leia, Fish Camp Woman, those three came like in my first couple of years of performing, and I reached out to people who I knew how to sew, and could take my measurements and could help me problem solve. But I also wanted them to be with removals and such, that it wasn't going to be anything complicated, because like with Fish Camp Woman, my friend Talia Shepard is a seamstress, and all I needed was for the dress to unsnap down the front. That's it. The rest of it, I figured out. I made the little hat, and I made the underpieces. In fact, the underpieces came from my burlesque graduation costume. So I repurposed those. I mean, that's where I was at that point. I'm like, okay, I don't know what else I can have, and how much money do I really want to put into this, and how much money do I have available? So let's reuse some pieces, and that's what I did. Learning how to like stencil, using fabric paint, and yeah, that was a lot. I've learned a lot about a company called papermart.com and all of the sequin trim that they have. Like the long blue fringe costume, that was hand sewn by me. And if you look at it, it's just chainette fringe attached to a ribbon, and it ties, and I sewed snaps and rhinestones and mirrors. And okay, so love this. So the rhinestones on one of those costumes were, I have a friend named Eric who used to work setting up stages for Irish dance competitions. Mm-hmm. And after those competitions, there would just be heaps of rhinestones that had fallen off of costumes at the end of the show. And they were the good ones. They were the Swarovski. And he would go through and he collected just like two big handfuls of, clear and AB and like the little bitty ones and the medium sized ones. And he gave them to me, and he's like, here, because I know they're not cheap. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
Are you kidding me?
That's incredible.
So yeah, so that costume has like the good ones on it, and I didn't pay for them.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's just a process to, but yeah, like Amy Watchell made the dress for Stood Up, Get Down, the yellow dress with the black stripe. Yeah. Again, I knew I wanted something simple. It's a wrap dress. I knew she knew how to make it. I took my body to her and fabric, because I shopped the fabric. Most of the stuff I shopped the fabric for, because I just need somebody else to put it together, because I didn't know how to do that. So yeah, I've been very fortunate that, reaching out and saying, hey, I will exchange money for your skill. Please help me. Here's my deadline.
In this time, though, you've definitely gotten your sewing chops up, and like it's a part of your day job now, yes?
Kind of. I don't sew much for film and TV because I'm not counted as a seamstress, but I do work within the costume department, so I see the production process. I see the design process. I see a piece go from a sketch to a pattern to cut out to a mock-up to a this to a that to a first fitting to a second fitting to boom on screen. So I'm very fortunate that I've had that. Or I see a garment that has been, say, thrifted, and then it gets broken down and reversed into a pattern to make it out of some other fabric. So yeah, I've had a chance to just kind of lean over very indulgent shoulders and go, what is that? What is this? Okay, and you do this like this.
Yeah.
So I have this costume that I'm working on. How could I do XYZ to make XYZ happen? Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go do these financials now. Okay, bye. Yeah.
So what is something that you're learning, like a new skill or a new thing that you're learning right now?
New skill. Okay. In February, I was fortunate to be asked to perform with Vertical Sideshow when they came to Atlanta to do a special birthday party event for Tantra Atlanta,
yes.
Amina. And one of the wonderful members of Vertical Sideshow, Bazooka Joe, requested that I do a piece with a specific prop, which I did not own. But because he wanted this, because they were designing the show, he and Ray Gunn were designing the show, Bazooka knew what he wanted, and he's like, have you ever worked with these before? And I was like, yeah, I took an hour workshop with Gia Lady at BurlesqueCon a couple of years ago. He's like, great, perfect, you know what it is. I'm shipping these to you. I'm like, okay. Silk veil.
Yeah.
Weighted silk veils. I've never, well, I mean, like I said, like an hour, 2 years ago at BurlesqueCon, I did a workshop with Gia Lady, and I loved them then, but I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but this was a really fun workshop, and there they showed up. So I practiced with those, and they really are my favorite prop now.
Oh, well, excellent.
No, because I love my feather fans. But there's a lot of the mechanics that are similar. Mm-hmm. But then there's also learning other mechanics. And I see that some of those are similar to fire fans or hooping.
And poi. Like they're very much like poi.
Exactly. And I've never used poi before, but I'm like, okay, this silk veil I can get down with. So I practiced with those, and I fell in love with them, and I actually found the same weight of silk charmeuse at Fine Fabrics. And I think like 1 or 2 days after the first phase of shutting down, like when we were at like no more than 250 people.
Right.
I went up to Fine Fabrics and went shopping and found the fabric, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is exactly it. And I, reached out to Bazooka Joe. I'm like, exactly how do you make these? And he's like, oh, this is how you make them. You need this, and you need this, and you need this. Thanks, Joe. And I ordered the weights that need to go in it, and I found some tutorials online, and I bought some dye, and I'm going to dye them. But now I'm so freaked out. I'm like, I don't want to dye them because I'm afraid I'm going to mess up the dye job. And so they've been sitting up there now for 2.5 weeks, and I haven't touched them. I haven't dyed anything yet. I'll get to it.
So we have comments, and Lee and Leslie Crusher, Lee Ford and Leslie Crusher and Shannon Alexander all first say happy birthday. But Lee has offered to make you some weighted silk veils in her painted silk patterns. So if you want to get in touch. There you go.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Thank you.
Yay!
I'm going to cry.
And here we go
Okay.
on a Thursday afternoon making connections.
Yay!
All
Oh,
right.
wow.
You mentioned feather fans, and you have a variety of feather fan dances. And can
Mm-hmm.
you talk about fan dancing?
Oh, so let's go back to the first dance I created. The first dance I saw was a performer you knew once upon a time as Diamond Ice,
Mm-hmm.
aka the Chameleon. I saw their fan dance, Big City Burlesque, I
Yes,
think.
it
That
was
was
Big City.
been a minute. It's been a minute.
Yep.
And huge respect for the process and the presentation, and it was breathtaking. And I remember let's go back to talking about me and stillness. Creating my fan dance was my challenge to myself to create that stillness. That was the act where I created that stillness. So it's to Try a Little Tenderness by Otis Redding.
Yeah.
And it was actually, at the time, it was a dedication. It was for Valentine's Day, but it was, for me, it was a dedication to Fonda Lang, who was having some health issues at the time. And I was like, I want this from the heart, and I want to challenge myself, and I want to do a fan dance. And I remember I reached out to Chameleon, and I was like, is it okay if I do a fan dance? Like, I felt I needed to ask her permission because she was the person in the city who was doing other fan dances. And they're like, you don't have to ask my permission. Thank you. But you are going to make a piece that is not what mine is. So please do. And with that, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. And that was the first piece. That was the first fan dance I created. And then some years later, I created another one. I can't remember what. Oh no, the one with the big white fans, right? Because then I started making my own. Because so the red fans were a gift from my mom for Christmas. Oh, this is the thing. and when I got them, they weren't nearly as fluffy as I wanted them to be. And I'm like,
because they never are.
More fluff.
Yeah.
No, must have some more fluff. So I ordered some additional feathers from Fine Feather, Fancy Feathers, that one, and dismantled the staves enough to insert the feathers and reattach them. And after I did that, I was like, this isn't that bad. And I also had to take the bolt out of the stave because it was one of those weird little things that doesn't actually tighten.
Yeah.
It's a post screw or something like that. And I'm like, I can't tighten this. So that means they won't stay open, and I'm working too hard to keep my fingers around them. So I took that out, bought some bolts, figured out what bolts and what washers needed to go in there. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I basically reassembled a set of fans. Oh, well, in that case, let me just go ahead and make some fans.
Yep.
And I did. And again, here comes mom, the best mom. She found that. She was like, oh, yeah, I think these are great. So she starts looking at websites, looking at feather fan staves. And so she ordered some from Flo Foxworthy in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And there's mirrored ones.
They're so lovely.
And so she ordered those. They're stunning.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I am going to assemble my own feather fans. That, in order to do what use the size feathers that I did, I ended up having to buy a Dremel.
Yep.
So that I could file down the quills in order to fit them onto the stave together. So I was like, okay, second set of fans down, boom, let's see what else we could do. So yeah, then it just became, a system of quarters and peacock feathers and pheasant feathers, and yeah. But the most recent ones are LED illuminated.
Yep. And the LED
folks in Knoxville got to see those.
LED fans are still so prototypey throughout everybody who's making them. Everyone's got their own kind of thing. I think I've prototyped like 3 different kinds instead of just getting the staves from the people in China who have the relatively affordable. FYI, folks, you can buy some staves that are LED.
Yeah. And then make your own fans or buy them already assembled. It's up to you. It all depends on your skill set and patience.
Yeah, patience. Definitely the patience part. Yeah. So you mentioned, because apparently all of this is like, oh, you mentioned this thing. When you were talking about your first feather fan dance, you mentioned asking the person currently known as the Chameleon about doing a fan dance because it was something that you associated with them. And I feel like a lot of people aren't familiar with that tradition in certain kinds of performing arts, and particularly burlesque, where if someone has a gimmick or a signature prop or something, reaching out to that person and making nice about possibly stepping on toes and things. Have you had other experiences with that?
I actually had a performer reach out to me regarding a song that I was using, and it was super easy, and I was more appreciative than I realized. I was like, thank you so much, because the act she was going to create was nothing like what I was doing, but because it was something that I had put on stage at a festival, a lot of eyes had seen it. She just wanted to be respectful and say, hey, I was thinking about creating this piece and I wanted to use this song. Would you mind? And immediately my conversation with the Chameleon came up, popped in my head, and I was like, oh, this is what this is. Oh, honey, what are you doing? Honey, thank you so much. Enjoy yourself. Knock it out.
Right.
Do the thing. Make it good. Yeah, I get it. And I from what I understand, like within the belly dance community, like that happens with songs more often than it does, I guess, with full act, or, But yeah, like a song can become, really attached to a particular performer, and feet can get stepped on and feelings bruised if it gets used again or something. I don't know if that's still true, because heaven knows I've, considered borrowing some belly dance music to, at least work out or maybe do a warm up. And I'm like, you know what? This would make a really good act if I did this, this, and this. And I'm like, yeah, no, two totally different animals. Totally different.
Right.
So.
Burlesque festivals.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Anyone who knows me knows that I have feelings about burlesque festivals, but you have had some really great experiences traveling all over and doing festivals and winning awards. It's a major award. You've got the crowns.
Good.
What's been your most memorable festival experience?
Most memorable. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and say the 2013, the Southern Fried Festival, when I won. And I'll tell you, starting with the festivals, just to talk about that. When I started burlesque, it was fun for me, and there were all these beautiful, sparkly, glorious birds around, and there are these personalities that I was not going to meet otherwise. Like, they're not in my salsa class, they're not in my yoga class, but look, and this dress and that hair, and how did you do this? And you just, these personalities, you're just like, and it's like I wanted to be around more of these people, that my social connection needed to be fed. And that's why I was like, oh, well, cool, that's this. And also at the time, the job that I had was Snoresville, and I needed something else that was going to wake me up, something I wanted to look forward to get out of. And like the idea of doing festivals, I mean, great. Southern Fried was here in Atlanta, in my home. I knew where it was, didn't have to travel. It was great. And then like the idea of going to other cities was like, okay, well, I've never been to Chicago. Let's apply to Chicago. Let's just see. Do I get in? Great, cool. And that one isn't a competition. It was just, it was just there. I met Penny Star Jr. there. I mean, I saw her again because I'd seen her before at Southern Fried, but it was so good to see her. And, I met Vince Weiss and just all these other people who I hold them very close to me now. And and I love seeing them. So really it was, who am I going to meet?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to learn about this city? And what, so it was, for me, it was more of a vacation with a performance that I needed to stress out about.
Right, yeah. And it's like a family reunion of sorts too.
Yeah.
Of your whatever professional family,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go. It was homecoming. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
totally.
It's just, it was great. So, I mean, when it came to the competitions, I would submit for a competition, but I was just like, sure. If I win, great. If I don't, I'm gonna have a good ass time anyway. So here we go. That's really also kind of just the way that I kind of live my life. I'm like, if I do great, fine. If not, I've learned a thing or two that I can apply to the next time I do a similar thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you find a sense of vulnerability and exposing yourself to rejection whenever you're applying to a festival or competing in a festival?
Maybe once, because I think the idea of still everything else around the event kind of pales to the competition for me.
Mm-hmm.
It really is about seeing, meeting, going, doing the process of that. The vulnerability, I think the most vulnerable I've felt was probably when I had a chance to do movers and shakers at Beehoff a couple of years ago. And that was more the size of that stage.
Right. Yeah.
Huge. And the act that I took is kind of small and intimate. So my worry was, it's not big enough. Shouldn't be here, but this doesn't have the wow factor that one is expecting, except for the fact that it was the Movers and Shakers showcase. So that is this is what's happening. This is the cool, this is what's hip, these are the ones to watch for the time, for right now. And the fact that my dear buddy, I have a handful has been in it several times. I'm just like, well, I want to do what Iva does. I want to do what Iva does. And right. Iva kills him every time. I'm going to kill him. It's going to be great. So yeah, but that was probably the most vulnerable I felt. Because I mean, the piece that I took is the Sit Up, Get Down. That one is already kind of a, here's my heart beating for you. That one was already like that. So I'm like, well, there's just going to be more people feeling my little heart. It's fine. Yeah, maybe I don't have enough of a sense of, I don't know. Do I have enough of a sense of vulnerability, or does it depend on what I'm doing? I mean, I look at it this way. I'm already literally showing y'all my ass on stage.
It's true. Yeah.
I mean, here's my boobs. Here's my butt.
Yeah.
We're going to hope that the pink part stays covered. I mean, so I'm like, what? I'm past. Y'all seeing y'all seeing the parts of me that, So now I'm just going to layer a story on top of that to give you something else to pay attention to.
Indeed.
So
yes.
That's probably, in other words, am I saying that I have no shame? Is that what I'm saying? Not
exactly.
I don't think that's what I'm saying.
No, it's not what you're saying. We're good. Everything's good.
Okay, cool.
For people who don't know what Beehoff is, can you tell a little bit about that?
Burlesque. the Burlesque Hall of Fame Weekender. It happens in June, not this year, and it is the progression of, or it's the current iteration of basically like the old school strippers reunion weekend. So, I am the wrong person actually trying to get this history together. You really need Talloolah for this, because I'm gonna get all the names wrong. So
you don't have to. It's all good.
So yeah, basically reunion weekend, and it's like the international amazing World Series, football grand championship of burlesque that weekend, and it's epic. Yeah. It is absolutely epic to experience, and it's also in Las Vegas. So yeah. That's as far as I'm going to get with that, because otherwise I'm going to mess up all the names and the history. There's a museum, right? It's a fundraiser for the museum. That's very important.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a fundraiser for the Burlesque Museum, the Burlesque History Museum, which is in downtown Las Vegas. It now has a permanent home. It took some years to get that permanent home, but it's beautiful and it's amazing. And it turns out I'm actually in a very small picture on the wall.
Awesome.
Right? Yeah. Fritz mentioned it, and I think Super John got a picture of it. But yeah, it's in this collage talking about the diversity and all of the voices that are within burlesque. And there's a little picture of me, in the final reveal of the Stood Up Get Down costume, and when Fritz told me it was there, I just teared up. I'm like,
that's super cool.
I'm a ham.
What?
They put a ham on the wall. That's what they did. They put a glittery ham on the wall. And I'm proud of them for putting a glittery ham on the wall. There are a lot of glittery hams on that wall.
Yes, there's lots of glittery hams.
Yeah.
So, burlesque is much about music and about music choice. But music is definitely a part of your life in lots of other ways, too. What's the first piece of music you ever bought with your own dollars? Or the first record, or whatever.
It was no. Oh, I got you. It may still be in this house somewhere. It was a 45 single.
Yeah.
Of Prince's 1999.
Yeah, hell yeah. Awesome.
And I remember taking it to school because I was so proud of it. And it's a little 45 sleeve. So for some of y'all listening, I don't know if you know what vinyl is, but it's a record player. It's a flat vinyl disc, and you would put it on a record player, and there would be this arm that had a needle in it, and it would recreate the waves that were encoded into the disc, not like a CD. Although it would scratch like a CD, although the effect was very different. And DJs used to use them to mix. They would have like two turntables, and there'd be like a first turntable and the second turntable, and that's where the whole phrase, the ones and twos, because they would switch back and forth. But anyway.
Please go on.
If you need more information on exactly what the ones and twos are, may I suggest The Get Down, which is a series on Netflix.
So good.
Gen X, damn it.
Yes. What was the first concert you ever went to?
Where I bought my own ticket, or that I was taken to?
Whatever.
I'll give you both.
Okay.
So the first concert that I was taken to, it was Ween's version of me, and Mom and Dad took me to see Stevie Wonder at the Omni, which was which predates all of the things downtown. It was the Omni. And I remember the air being kind of bluish and cloudy. Mom said it didn't take long for me to fall asleep. Wonder what was making the air all blue and cloudy. But the first concert that I bought with my own little money, it was either 86 or 87. Because I remember I had this really cute little sweatshirt, this oversized sweatshirt that was off the shoulder. It was hot pink and it had purple embroidery. It had purple binding on it. It was really cute. And I went with my friend Felicia. It was Cyndi Lauper, and the Bangles opened for Cyndi Lauper at the Fox Theater. And I had Mom drop me off. Because, oh my God, Mom can't,
no way.
Mom dropped me off down the block. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. Amazing.
Was there puff paint on that sweatshirt? Because I definitely would have had puff paint on mine at that point.
I don't remember. I don't know. It was a good show, and it's funny because I distinctly recall the costume that Cyndi Lauper wore in that show. It was this black and white, like kind of maybe a fishtail gown, and she had this huge black and white striped hat. And if I ever focus long enough, I may go back and try to recreate that. Hey there, tailors and seamstress friends out there, just know I might need a favor. But see, that idea's got to get in line with so many others.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cyndi Lauper was my muse for so many years.
What's your theme song?
Okay. Man, I was going to actually hook it up so that you could actually hear it. It's Here Comes the Hot Stepper.
Yes!
By Ine
Yes!
I think that was 1994.
Yes!
That song then and now, when I need something, that is my song. That is my song to get to get my own party going. Still. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, I failed by not having it ready to go.
That has definitely been on in our house in the last 2 weeks. I know this for a fact.
I'm sure it has. It's a banger, as the kids say.
Yes.
I think that's what they're saying.
It's a banger. My partner doesn't understand sometimes the things that I characterize as bangers. Because, he's super down with the kids today.
So down.
So down. Yeah. You use your feet a lot. You're a dancer. You salsa danced. You have your amazing stems. What's the best favorite pair of shoes you have ever put on your feet?
Let's see. Well, I guess it all depends on where we're going. When it comes to sneakers, I have this pair of silver retro style Adidas. They are silver and they have navy blue suede stripes. They're like the old track shoe.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the name was. I think they're called a Silver Streak. I think. I love those. But I had a pair of shoes. It was a pair of shoes that I always, whenever I put them on, I was like, I win all the things. They were a pair of Nine West espadrilles with a wedge heel. They were navy blue, kind of an apple green, white, striped satin. Fucking love those shoes. Love those shoes. I'm sure somewhere I might have a picture of them. But I'm still, those were from the 90s too, and I'm just not ready to let go of them, even though the inside of the shoe is completely shredded.
Oh yeah.
I can't let go of them because even now I look at them like they're beautiful. They're just beautiful. Yeah. Nine West made a good shoe. At a point they made a good shoe. But Yeah, those, and of course, I love espadrilles. That's my other like favorite shoe. But I can't find the right. Oh wait, I do have a picture of them. I don't know if the people going to be able to see, but those are my favorite shoes.
Cute.
Those are my favorite shoes. Yeah. I love that color combo, the navy blue and the green and the white and the taupe. Yeah, and they were satin, so it's like this damask satin.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We are nearly at our time. So, the kind of, there's two things that I like to ask people that I haven't asked you yet. And one is, do you have any daily rituals that you're really relying on right now?
Get up and make my coffee.
All right. Yep.
Get up and make my coffee.
I'm with that.
Because that's how I know I still have home base.
Yeah.
That is my home base. It's get up, make a coffee. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, because I'm not. I do it when I'm working. Although, like when I'm on a show and I have the opportunity, it's the process and the ritual of grinding the beans and doing it in a French press. I don't feel like fucking with that right now. So yeah, just still, so long as I get my coffee, brew it, I need to hear the percolator, I need to smell it, all of it. That is my ritual. Yeah.
Right on.
And then maybe some yoga. Maybe.
Maybe. So last question. What's some of the best advice that someone's ever given you?
I don't know if this is so much advice or it's just an affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm going to the old mom. And I remember this. I think I had gotten, because I was one of those kids that got picked on, whatever. And I think I'd either come home crying or it had really upset me. One of the times it had really upset me. And I was, Mom. And my mom got down on her knees so that she was eyeball to eyeball with me. And she put her finger in my little chest and she said, "There is only one you."
Aww.
Only one. Right there. That's it.
That's incredible. That's fantastic. Aw.
Yeah, and I probably still got picked on or whatever, but there's just one. For better, for worse.
Right, yeah.
There's just one with me. Just one.
Oh.
And that's the same for everyone. There is only one of you, but there's something about that moment and the fact that she came because it had upset her that I was upset. And she's just like, without saying, "Fuck these kids," fucking with my child, that's all she had to say.
Like, how old were you?
6, 7-ish.
Yeah. Kind of that age that we all were like we're all like little deer. Oh Lord, but that kind of crap, just that mess followed me all through school though. So whatever. And look at you now. Literally showing your ass to people for dollars. Okay, you stick around for just a second. We're gonna wave goodbye to everyone. And Lee says she wouldn't trade you for the world. Oh. So on that, thank you everyone, and
thank you, darling.
We'll see you next time.
Okie dokie, bye.